Hello, and welcome to Automat Live Coding. On this stream, we are writing a visual programming app, actually optimized towards game automation. And the things that we will do today, there was some progress on Automat trailer, so I will show you how it looks right now. I will show you how I'm preparing. We still need to prepare a couple more assets, but we will play with some 3D model generation today to make the assets for the trailer. And yeah, it's going very well. This is our parrot. This is our titular Automat's macro recorder. But here, it's in 3D. Anyway, recently Automat got some new features. We cannot see them here because I need to pull the code from GitHub. But yeah, basically Automat can scroll in all directions. So right now it's scrolling in Blender, but it can also scroll within itself, I think. Actually, no, it cannot. Anyway. So, trailer. First of all, I'm playing with all the Blender features I can. So this is roughly how it looks. I mean, you cannot really see everything here. I think I need to switch to this mode. So this is how the trailer looks. And it's a different renderer. And there is this parrot, which animates. It has a flash in its eye. And then it flies out, and there is some animation. I'm not sure if the animation is going to be visible on the trailer, but I have some render. Anyway, I will play you the render that I have. So I will pause the music, we'll pause the birds, and this is the output. Yeah, and it's broken here. There is an animation that we cannot see. And this is something called animatic. It shows the rough structure of what is going to go where. Unfortunately, we cannot see the animation, so you can imagine there will be clips of Automat here, automating various games. And at the end, there will be a logo lying in. Actually, speaking of this logo, this is the first thing that we will do, because in Blender, I do have already the logo scene kind of made. I can switch to render. Yes, I can switch the rendering engine to cycles. So this is how the logo is going to look like. Yeah, actually it's not looking bad. But behind this logo, here, you can see those wings. And those wings are still missing from this scene. So I would like to fix this, actually. I was playing with some stable diffusion model, not stable diffusion. It shouldn't be called stable diffusion. But I don't know what's the proper term for this. AI models that can do 3D model generation. And I did prepare a couple thingies that we could use. So I have this hand that can be used to show, this is the evil hand of macro recorder. the hand that's pulling the strings. It's also this. I think this one's possibly better. And I have some wings. Thing is, I'm not sure if those wings are good enough. This is wing number 1. This is another version of this wing. And the idea for the logo is that we will have those wings kind of placed like that. And probably rotate this along X. How does it look from here? Blender has a lot of features for skinning, not skinning, rigging objects. And I think this wing, we could possibly put some bones here, you know, color it properly and then add some simulation so that it's going to look like it's actually on the wind. So it's going to, you know, the feathers are going to kind of flip in the wind. This is the right wing. Try to position it similarly. Yeah, there's a problem with the direction of feathers. This is actually why we have the. It's actually why we have. I actually have stable diffusion running in the background, so we can regenerate those models. As you can see from the camera's perspective, those two wings, they seem to look fine, but they are not quite fine. So this is it's pretty much how the wing should look. Because in this version, the lighting is not baked into the one of those. Sarah with 3 wings. This one is technically properly shaded. I switch to a different render pass. Concerning. glossy color, what the hell? Let me check the material on this wing. This is a C++ stream, by the way. We are going to do some coding, don't worry. I could even denoise the on-screen video so that it looks nicer. I think we will have to paint the... We'll have to do many things. We'll have to do many things. Okay, one thing which is a problem with those wings is that they are bended in a slightly different direction. We'll see. We've seen there was something wrong with the material on this thing. Yeah, you render. And now it's going to be way fast. Okay, first of all, this wing should not be metallic. Should turn this down, and I think now it should be fixed. Yes. The same for other materials, like this should have metallic 0, big 0, yeah. Because metallicness tells the renderer how the material should reflect, right? And or maybe the wings should be metallic, I don't know. You can also lower the roughness to make them kind of shiny. They will be kind of plasticky if they are like that. I think roughness should be fairly high on them. IO are lower. Maybe something like that. So this is how the material should be set up to physically work. The problem is that on this scene, the lighting is kind of... There is a skybox, for instance. It's a word. See, there is a sky texture. Disable this. Now the lighting is looking very boring. We have just a very basic light, but when I switch this off, yeah, now it's actually starting to look cool. Switch to the camera. And let's do maybe the noise, because I want to see how it will look. Okay. So there is a light here, point light, which is behind the wings. Because of that, it's not casting shadows properly. Position it like that, like that. And see shadows being cast on the wings. But this light, it tries to emulate a hot fire burning in the center of the Automat logo. It has very low temperature. Even lower it further. It's going to be even red, more red. Really, this light should be here. I think those wings should probably pull them back. And scale them up. Okay, but before we do this, I'm going to switch to Skybox. Where it is, Sky Texture. I think it should be possible for me to change how this reacts to the environment light. Not sure. Anyway. There will be many things here, so I think I shouldn't probably it's too much, right? I just want to make a decision whether I want those bright wings or those dark ones, and I think the bright ones seem to be more accurate or correct. There are ways to make those wings look cooler, and we will do this. There is a feature in Blender which allows me to cast kind of dark black light. But I only have the left wing in this way, so I will need to fire up Stable Diffusion and play with it. So I keep calling this Stable Diffusion. This is actually a model, a Chinese model called Hanyuan 3D. And it can take an image like this, and it can convert it into a 3D model like that. And it can also take this image, remove the lighting from this. This is a version without lighting. It's a pencil drawing, so there's maybe not much changed here. And it can even generate textures for this generated model. And this looks like garbage, right? If you zoom in, come on. If you zoom in, it looks terrible, but when you zoom out, it actually looks like a pretty nice unit. And upload a background texture maybe. Let's go with this. Yeah, if it's a small unit on a map, you're basically not going to see the imperfections. There are imperfections, plenty of them. But I wanted to generate a wing, and if I remember correctly, I had a wing right. Yes, this one. Let's try to generate this model. What 3D? Those are our generated models. I think I can probably delete those. Don't need them. Maybe even this. Let's go. So the way that this model works, okay, I don't have enough memory. I only don't have memory for decoding. This will be enough. So the way that this model works is that it looks at this image and it tries to create a dense representation of the image, a dense 3D representation of the image just by looking at the pixels. It's called VAE means variational autoencoder, but this internal representation is a set of, I think, it's a grid where each grid, like pixels, but each cell in this grid contains much more high-level information about this shape. It doesn't contain the colors. It contains some internal features that the neural network came up with. So, for example, there is going to be a pixel describing this section, and the neural network is going to say, oh, in this grid cell, there is a boundary between air and some material. It's pointed in this direction, and the material is slightly wavy, so it's a very rich representation. But it is a neural representation, it cannot be rendered directly. So to render this, there is a decoder necessary. A decoder can basically walk through this grid of neural vectors which represent the shape, the 3D shape, and it's going to convert this fuzzy 3D grid into a more concrete 3D grid. In this case, this is going to be an oct tree. It actually is going to turn this into a mesh. The mesh is going to be super messy, so then it's going to be optimized, this post-processing. And here we have our mesh. We can take a look and see it works. It's looking fine. It's not bad. I mean, my wife would disagree. She's a 3D artist. Slightly inconsistent with how other wing is modeled, but yeah, it's fine. Actually, maybe it's not fine. There's a problem with this double feather, which causes problems. That could look weird. Anyway, this is also a already 3D model here you can take a look at. And I'm actually surprised. Oh yeah, I messed something up. This needs to be connected here. Okay, so I need to rerun this generation anyway. So I'm going to delete those two models. Oh, and it's going to generate the identical 3D model for this wing. And this is because I'm using, I think, constant seed. No, I'm not. Okay. So this whole process, it's actually deterministic. So when I give it an image, it's always going to generate the same model. The only way to make it produce different results is to, insert variable seeds. They are going to change how the model is created. And this is interesting, but the wing is tilted backwards. And I think the one that we have in Blender on the left is tilted forwards. If it's possible, I would like to have a wing that's tilted in the other direction. It's broken, but those are all fixable things. I also don't like this color here. This is because of this step. It didn't properly delight the wing, unfortunately. Okay, I will generate one more. This post-processing is very slow. I guess this is implemented in Python. Okay. This is bad, but maybe you can work with it. It's not... It would be nice to be able to generate this in higher kind of 3D resolution, because you see there is plenty of very nice, fine geometry here, and the 3D model is not capturing this at all. It's making it very, very flat and boring. But it should work. So let me try adding this here. It's our new wing, properly shaded wing. A slightly broken one, but small thing. I think this. Here. And I will delete those old shaded wings. We'll only keep the unshaded ones. So this is how they look on the render. They actually look decently. Maybe not too decently, but very good enough. This thing probably has to be width. Is there a shear variation here? Spool. It's not looking great. There's definitely silhouette. Okay. I can mess up the model like that. Nice. Or maybe there is a push. Grab. Let's grab. Okay. Just need to make this large. Yeah, this way I can take the 3D model that was generated and kind of make it conform the shape I want to have. You can release this tiny bit here. Only supported in multi-resolution mode. How is the trim working? And totally break the geometry like that. I think if I switch to edit mode, I could do the weld. Combine the vertices. Apply this now. Now I should be able to sculpt it without breaking it. Yeah. The mesh was just a little bit messed up. Okay, I think I'm not sure if we fixed it. Maybe I can also grow it a little bit. What's this? something I want. I think I should play with all those 3D do this one. I should play with all those 3D brushes. Doesn't seem to work. Okay, it seems to be filled. I'm not a sculptor. Maybe I will switch to smooth again. Smooth is it's like cheating. Makes everything look nicer.
Zephyr Book says,
Hey everyone.
Hey, Knight. In all of the places where in all of the places where there are transitions between feathers, I could probably pinch it. I'm not sure if the mesh is fine enough to make this work. Yeah, it's not. I don't know, I will have to watch some tutorials how to do sculpting, but we have our wings. One of them is darker than the other, I don't know. Has to be a difference in the material. Yeah, this one is metallic. The roughness is different. And the refraction index is different. Yeah, now they are looking much more similar. There is still those dark sections that have to be painted, but they are slightly different thickness. But all of this can be, I think, fixed. Yeah, I think this is it when it comes to what I wanted to do with the models. I will be playing with their animation a lot, and my favorite model is actually this one. You cannot see it here because it's occluded by some random textures. Let's maybe hide it temporarily. Yeah. This is a cool model. This is our macro recorder, but in 3D, in actually 3D. I will fix one thing. I will keep this as is. So you can see that here, within this 3D macro recorder, oh yeah, now I have just the 3D macro recorder. Inside, there is another, that one, this one. So that was the temporary one that I was using to animate the animatic. Now I can switch to this one. I will tweak it a little. It's not going to be as thick. It's way too thick here. But I don't know how to fix it yet. I will have to watch some tutorials first. Yeah, but it's cool to play with this. It's cool to play with a 3D model of the macro recorder. It's like, feels alive. And it has a flash in its eye. Anyway, I'm saving the trailer. This is basically it. I just wanted to prepare those wings, and I wanted to maybe show you how to very easily create 3D models. This whole asset generation pipeline was actually super. It didn't require much art, like from my side. There was very little drawing. I generated kind of the wing images, basically, with stable diffusion. There was a stream a couple of streams ago. I was basically marking the wing section and telling the stable diffusion to generate a wing that will conform to this region. And now I basically took that image, broke it apart, and I'm turning this into a bunch of rough 3D models. And those 3D models, it's very tempting to tweak them and to make them really nice, but I know it's not very super important, so I have to kind of control myself. What we should actually be doing today is fixing errors, fixing glitches. So I will switch off the trailer. Yeah. I will switch off this stable diffusion. Actually, I should have saved it. Let me quickly go back. This image going here. Okay. Save. Shut down Automat. I can shut down. Blender is shut down. I can shut down stable diffusion, comfy UI. Close all of those things. And we can fire up Z. There are 3 things that I want to fix today, and 2 of them are on Windows. And I am not a big fan of working on Windows, so I will start with the one that I can fix from Linux. Splicing. There is an issue with splicing, which should be easy to fix. We'll see. Okay, Z was updated. Nice. Oh, I've added a small new feature, Automat. So if I run it now, you will see a green background. I was actually using this to extract some assets for the trailer. Yeah, green screen. Automat has a green screen mode now. Make it easier to extract stuff from it. I should pull, fetch. There were some changes, but they should have merged nicely. I actually wanted to test something. I remember on Windows there was this issue with the fire animation. I want to see if it happens on Linux, because maybe it affects both systems, who knows. I'm not an optimist here. I think it's a Windows only issue. What happened? Oh yeah, I know what happened. I changed the name of an object, so now it's confused. But now we should have two scroll objects, a vertical and horizontal scroll. They are even color-coded in the same way as X and Y axis. Yeah, the fire works wonderfully here. Unfortunately. I would like it to be broken, to make it easier to fix. Okay, I wanted to fix the splicing. I want to test first the timeline splicing. First, I want to test a couple simple situations. I can zoom in, zoom out, maybe even more, zoom back in. Okay. I think I will save this because it's nice to have a nice mouse position is, I don't need it. Now I have just the scroll. I can keep this object, why not? And when I position my cursor here, for instance, and so there is snapping in Automat. When I move my pointer over this track, it will snap to different events on this track, the closest event. And it works if some event would be below the bridge, then the bridge snaps to this event, to the closest event that would be the closest event to the center of the bridge. But only when I'm scrolling on this time. When I'm scrolling here, it's snapping to fractions of a second. This is snapping to hundreds milliseconds. So this mechanism can be used, for example, to position myself at some point, which has a very funny time, and I can move it back to 6.5 seconds by just doing this and releasing. Yeah, and then now it's at 6.5 seconds. But it actually broke something. It moved the event around. It's not where it should be. Like all of these subsequent events should be shifted back. They were not. Or that did not work correctly. So this is the issue I wanted to fix. The splicing should actually cut sections of the timeline and not just mess up random events. And snap it again. See, just one event moved back. Total time is 10 seconds. Yeah, it made it all shorter. It's kind of weird. Splicing is hard. Splicing is hard because when you have a strip of paper and axis with events at different points in time, and you want to cut this section, there is the problem of boundary. What do you want to do with boundaries? Let's say I have a transition like this when I'm moving down and again down. If I cut it like that, there are a couple interpretations of this. Maybe I want to compress those two small changes into a single change, which will be scrolling by 2 points. This double scroll event. Or maybe I want to remove those scrolls. Right now it's combining them. I think if I do it like that. Yeah, now it probably shouldn't combine them. So there is splice action. So this is just rendering code. Okay, so this is just calling a splice method of the track. It's passing two offsets, start and end offset. So this is the position of the bridge, I think. And this splice 2 is the position of the mouse cursor. Okay, so we are going to merge them, but first I will do a short break. So be right back. Okay, and we're back. So there are two copies of this function. There are two splice functions. First thing, we shouldn't have those two copies which are almost identical, especially now that we know that they have a bug. Ideally, bug should be only fixed in one place. So let's write a unified splice function. This is going to be a static function, static meaning it has an internal linkage. It's going to take parent offset and splice to, and right now let's just copy the implementation one more time and see where the errors pop up. So we need two, I think, variables here, a timestamps array and a values array. The timestamps here is a vec duration. And we will pass them by reference. And a vector of what? Of something. Some type t. So this function is going to be a template. It's also going to be a reference. I could maybe pass a single argument, track, but I think this is just as fine. It's probably going to pretty much the same. A little shorter to write. Yeah, and there it is. And here I can just call it in the same way. And the two functions are merged. The only question here, the only question really is coming up with the semantics of this operation, like what it should do. So should it, for events that are between current and splice 2, should it compress them into a single event? Should it discard them? We are splicing a sequence of delta values, so combining them may actually be a good idea. And how should boundary events be treated? Okay. I'm thinking boundary events really depends in mathematics and in programming very frequently. We decide to only keep one of those boundary events, like the left one or the lower one, and the upper one. Like most of the intervals in mathematics, when they are defined, usually they have the lower interval closed, the higher interval open. So the minimum point is included in the interval. The ending point is not. It's marked as a circle, empty circle. But it's not intuitive. It's the tradition used in math, but it's something that you have to learn at school. It's not something that you would come up with by yourself. Yeah. I think splice operation it should probably discard those events. Because if we go this way, then it's actually possible to do compression if you do it in a very specific way. You first have a sequence of delta values. You can convert this into a sequence from a relative from a sequence of relative values into a sequence of absolute values. Yeah, so you convert to absolute, splice the events in the absolute space, and then convert back to relative. Converting to absolute and then back to relative is unfortunately a lossy operation. It's not possible to do it without introducing some floating point accuracy issues. absolute to relative is mostly lossless, but the opposite, not. Yeah, it's a small thing. This is not a big problem. But I really like when math can be done in an accurate fashion, so that it doesn't lose precision in this kind of stuff. It makes many things just work. Anyway, then I think we'll go for discarding. And when it comes to deleting the ends, so this splice operation has two modes. It has a mode where it adds time and where it removes time. It would be nice if those two modes were cancelling each other. So if you remove a section and then add it back, you end up with the same thing. So this option, when we include none of the boundary items, is unfortunately not possible, because when we are cutting from one event to another event, precisely those boundary events, they would have to be combined into a single event. Everything between we would delete, and those two at the edges we would combine. That's just strange. So this is not possible. I don't know if I can cross something here, but so if we include both of them, if we have a section with starting with an event and ending with an event, we cut this section. Then both of those events would be deleted. That's actually kind of makes sense, but it's symmetric. I mean, if I delete a section of time, I cannot recreate it back. Because those events are gone. Okay, so if I include only one of them, then this has to be shown somehow. And there are two options. Actually, four options. Include lower, include higher,
Hugo Schmitten 7072 says,
I miss Turbo Pascal very much. Ha ha, this color reminds me of that.
yeah. There is actually some merit to this color. I hear that when it was chosen, I think Borland C++, very old C++ IDE, they actually did some study in US about which color makes you kind of most attentive. It's like coffee, you know. There are different colors that influence your attentiveness. And blue supposedly is the one that promotes kind of thinking the most. So it's deliberate. When those old IDEs were designed, the color scheme was chosen much more scientifically than current IDEs. This is a small attempt at recreating this color scheme. I can draw this.
Here.
Okay, so I have I just want to fire up Automat to show a timeline. Okay, so I have a timeline, and let's say I want to remove this valley here. I could position myself here, delete to here, and that valley should be, I mean, it works actually, but it works because the compression happens to handle this correctly now. But the problem is, what should happen if I am positioned at this point, so I am snapped to this position here, and in Automat this snapping is very, very accurate. It's even though it's using floating points, we are actually using floating points very carefully here. And I can delete this section. I can snap this endpoint to this another boundary point. And now we have this situation where we were cutting a section of a timeline from boundary position to another boundary position. And right now it seems to include both endpoints. I mean, this is actually kind of nice. I think this, intuitively, it seems to me that this is the right way to do it. So even though we are now... Oh, actually... Yes or no? Something was wrong there. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so I think this is what we should do. When we are splicing, we should probably include both points. So this behavior is kind of nice. One thing that doesn't work is this sort of cutting. We'll fix this in a second. I think this visualization is not really that great because this timeline, only the vertical lines make sense here. The horizontal lines are just kind of helper for you to show you that, hey, this is this movement continues, builds up upon the previous movement. It's a relative, it's a sequence of relative changes of the mouse scroll. When adding time, right now we are pushing this event forward. I think this is actually very good. Yeah. Just the visualization is wrong. For some reason this is not moving subsequent events. So the stuff that I'm doing right now is kind of like, this is the workflow that you would use if you were planning a speedrun or a task for a game. Precisely positioning the events for a game to play it perfectly. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. So when deleting, we should include both ends. Yeah. Okay. So if we are expanding, yeah, we are keeping this code. It's perfect, actually. We just walk through each of the timestamps and we are shifting it by the difference. This delta is the duration. Cool. Just want to this invariant holds in this if block. We do not want to fold the motion into a single event. This is actually looking very good. Begin and I think erase takes 2 iterators. Yeah. And I think after we do this, we need to shift the timestamps. Start with begin. Yeah, delta is negative. So this is actually subtracting time. And all of this code is probably unnecessary. Okay, the new splicing. fix the issues. We are no longer combining complex movements into a single huge jump, but deleting them. So if I do this, the line should just go down and stay down. Yeah. And now the line should stay flat here. Yes. Yep. That was strange. Yeah, I broke something. Yeah, because if I want to move an event to a specific point, I can position myself at this event and do it like that. So this deleted the first event. I kind of liked the ability to move events around. So after splicing, what happened? We started with begin, and we added delta to every event. And how did this cause this effect? Oh, I think after erase, I need to resize. Yeah. Because erase doesn't resize. Or not? No, it does resize. Okay. happening here? Oh, I probably need to resize the values as well. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the problem. It deletes the event. I really liked keeping it. The splice was a very nice operation for moving events around. And now it deletes them. I could fix this just by doing this. So now we are going to preserve this event when splicing. Possible to do nice shapes like this one. And that was also annoying when I'm at the empty space and I'm moving to a point like this one. I probably don't want to delete it. Okay, so the new logic is if there are events at both ends, they are both deleted. But if there is an event at either of the ends, it's kept. I'm not sure if this is... I'm thinking of edge cases where this would not work. So if I have a timeline which has an event at the very start and no other events, then I will not be able to delete it ever. Or an event at the very end. So the problem is as follows. I'm at some position and I want to move this event to this position. Like, if I do cut it like that, it's going to remove this event. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's probably how it should work. We'll probably have more tools in the timeline for other types of edits. The new logic should cover all of those types of cuts. So we are checking if we can check if there is an event at the boundary of this range using this simple comparison. Not so simple. It's an awful C++ artifact. This event should be resisted. Yes, so I can move it around. I swap to this. Should be able to move this around as well, yeah. All of the other events are being moved together. And if I want to, for example, lower the depth of this valley, I can position it like that. And that should... I think it did work. I'm not sure. It definitely did. It has 1, 2, 3 steps down. Okay, it's not great. Moved it up. Check something. I'm positioning cursor here and here, and that should produce a straight, smooth line. It does not. It says splicing from 9 to 19. And there were 19 timestamps in the array. So it removed from 9 till the very end. This will be a simpler case. It should delete from 18, sorry, from 17 to 19. Splicing from 17 to 19, yep, very nice. Why is there an event here? Oh yeah, it's should we end it? Oh. Yeah, now it works. I can position this here, delete to here, and instead of 1, 2, 3, or 5 levels, we should have 4. Oh, 4. Yeah, delete from here to here. It's 3 levels. And also delete this place. Yeah, now it's much better behaved. Yeah, so now I can use this splice tool to create this very elegant timeline with perfectly positioned events. I want to make this longer by, I don't know, 0.2 seconds. Close this. Yeah, even the values in the JSON file look super nice. That's cool. So the goal here is to make it nice to edit those timelines from within Automat. And I think the first tool works fine. Timeline is going to have more tools beyond just splicing. So now it has this one. But when I right click, the point is to actually make it maybe not modal, but make it possible to invoke different actions by right clicking on it. Or maybe hovering and moving the mouse in a specific way to access different modes. Maybe modes can be avoided. Modes are kind of annoying because they when you're designing stuff, you think things are nice because you are in the right mode. But for somebody who's not in the right mode, the UI is terrible. Cool.
Asnin 189,07072 says,
Hey, yeah.
Hey. Okay. Splicing is working fine. That means, unfortunately, I have to switch to my Windows machine, which is laggier. And I have to do some bug fixing there. But at least the splicing is working now very nicely. We can make those super polished tracks using just this tool, just holding this icon and moving the pointer around. It probably needs some kind of guide or explanation how to use this, but yeah, it's a very versatile tool, probably. And the same should work for mouse traces. So if I record a mouse trace, for example, with a circle, a star, and I don't know, smiley face. And zoom, it's not very smiley face. Anyways, I can grab this to remove the star, for instance. We have just the circle now. Or a part of this that I don't like this left eye. And position myself here at the end of the eye, here, and I can cut to, I don't know where is the beginning of the eye.
How are you drawing the graphical elements on the screen? Using a library, or interacting directly with Eleven or Wayland?
I'm using a library called Skia. Skia is fairly okay. It's not a super low level library, but it's very tricky to set up. But once you set it up, it's amazing. It's very fun to play with it. And it gives me access to the underlying Vulkan graphics graph, like Vulkan graph, as Vulkan graph. So I can inject my own shaders or my own whatever. The rendering infrastructure here, for instance, I manage this. So I do scheduling of when to render each texture, and Skia just takes care of, I can tell it, hey, I want to have this fancy shape with a gradient, and Skia will take care of making sure that the shader is ready. It will generate the vertex lists, upload them to the GPU. Yeah, it will just do so much. I just need to present this on screen and arrange the computation myself. And all sorts of shaders, like the background shader, which does this halftone effect. Yeah, I can basically insert my own graphics tricks into this library, and it will just work with them.
Awesome. I assume you wouldn't be able to use something like GTK as it doesn't provide the right building blocks for this type of application?
GTK would... so GTK is awesome because of its underlying model. It's using this GObject framework as its base. And GObject, it's arguably better than C++ inheritance model. It works seamlessly with C libraries. It's just a pleasure to work with. GTK is a very nice library. But what you're saying is true. I could use GTK to do this, but it would clash with the stuff that I want to do. It's more like the stuff that I'm doing here is closer to game development. So some kind of game engines would probably be a better fit. But if your user interface doesn't require throwing things around and controlling the rendering pipeline, then GTK is probably better. One thing that GTK manages is the power usage, so it will make sure to render widgets only once and not re-render them when re-rendering is not necessary. I think GTK has GPU acceleration, by the way. So GTK will probably render this stuff on the GPU as well. Some of the older versions of GTK also had the ability to tweak the style, and the solutions that they used were kind of crazy. They would actually use shared libraries or teaming of apps. So you could have a shared library in your OS, it would be injected into all of the GTK apps, and that library would change the theme of the apps. It was literally done at a DLL level, at a shared library level. I don't know if GTK still does this. I think after they moved to Advaita, they have a much more rigid look. So it's less customizable, I guess, now. But it's still a decent library. The underlying, stuff is still great. So GTK is nice. It's just for a different kind of apps. Traditional apps. Like Z, for instance. Z could use GTK. If Z used GTK, probably a lot more things would work here.
I think ATK itself didn't move to fix theming. It was Gnome's move to Libawata.
Yeah. Possibly. It's something I could believe. GNOME has a very rigid design philosophy. Very Apple-like. I'm using GNOME, right? But I'm not a big fan of GNOME. I should move to something else. I was honestly using Hyperland for some time, just because it looks nice, especially when I'm streaming. But it was also kind of annoying, and it was crashing a lot, and it didn't have working like KVM. So I'm using KVM to, when I move my cursor around, I have one PC. When I move this up, it's moving to a different PC. And this kind of stuff doesn't work in Hyperland and Wayland. Actually, no, Wayland desktop has this. So I'm using GNOME because GNOME is still X11 and it still kind of supports my use cases. But something like this Mint desktop was also nice. Cinnamon, I think. I think it's called Cinnamon.
I used to use KDE to support it. They've done a really good job building an actual alternative to Windows, and MacOS for common users.
Yeah. I should give KDE a better try. I think I tried it maybe a couple of times, but every time I ditched it after a couple of weeks. The most annoying part in KDE is that when you install it, the dependencies are crazy. It's like gigabytes of Qt-based libraries, which are only used by KDE stuff. And with GNOME's using I think the G-object stuff is slightly more popular than Qt stuff. There are more apps that are based on GTK than Qt. So I don't have as many redundant packages on my system. And I use Gentoo, so every package is a maintenance issue for me. The less packages I have, the easier my system is to update. The less likely it is to crash during update. Okay, so I pushed this new splicing. There is something else that's missing.
Do you manage all the packages on your system? How about using a distribution?
Oh, I don't manage them, myself, but I can show you, for instance, my most recent update adventure. Okay, it just complained about one package skipped because of the dependency conflict. But before, for example, it complained that, hey, I couldn't install the kernel, and now I'm afraid to reboot my PC. Like, I don't know why it failed. I have to still look at this, investigate why the kernel installation failed. It was probably compiled okay. It probably couldn't copy the kernel to the FE partition or something like that. I don't know. I was doing all sorts of with changes recently. So the distribution auto updater is bugging on me right now. If I reboot my PC, it's probably not going to start. Yeah, something like this. Okay, and maybe we can also do this today. So that if all of this works, we will not have to touch Windows in weeks. Okay, I need to reconnect some cables, so I need a second. So we just switched to Linux. And this is why I like KVM, because I'm moving my mouse still on my Linux machine, but my Linux machine is moving this mice through KVM on the Windows laptop. So it's very convenient to have a single keyboard, a single mouse, and control however many computers I want with them. Okay, let's fire up Z. I really wish Wayland had support for this. I would really love to switch to Wayland. Okay, let's fetch the most recent changes. Okay, I need to pull. So I don't see the new implementation yet. Okay, I didn't push, so I need to push again and fetch. And it's here. Linking is very slow. I know there is this trick called the incremental linking that can make it faster. But I don't know, is this just Windows glitching out or what? So if I do timeline, should be able to do those nice cuts now. Should be able to cut from here to here. Yeah, and it worked nicely. I can delete it completely. Now we have a flat line. So this works. So the thing that was not working on Windows and that is first is this, the fire animation. On Linux, it is properly clipped to a region near the border of the window. But here, not really. Okay. We'll do a short break, so be right back. So instead of showing the fire, I could disable the image filter in this fire paint. And then I think we should see a simple blur. And maybe this blur is broken. That's my hope. Why is it so dark? Maybe... So fire paint... I'll just get rid of the paint. So fire paint controls color filter, image filter, blend mode, and alpha. Fire paint doesn't have any of those now. We comment some of those things. Maybe for some reason it's using the parent matrix, or I don't know. Okay. So now it's being drawn nicely. So this line was causing issues. Such a weird issue. Why stroking is causing issues? And it's black again. Maybe it's because of this inverse fill type. isn't drawing stroke, but in inverse. Okay, somehow that was the problem. Okay, so that should be easily fixable. I think I could move this code here. Linking is so slow. So now we can bring back the fire. And we should have a nice burning window. Now working on windows. Yay. I like this thing. I don't know what it is, but it looks nice. Some kind of recursive automat screenshot. I don't like that we're blinking. Our screen is blinking. I wonder why. Now we can look into Automat. Yeah, turns out Automat is actually a tunnel. Okay, so the first issue is fixed. see. Yeah, looks fine. There was one more glitch to fix, and that was, I think, when we delete active window capture, it was crashing Automat. And do this. So when it's running, and we delete it like that, okay, it is crashing Automat. We can see what exactly is causing the crash, but I think this crash should happen both on Windows and on Linux. So maybe I will debug this on Linux. There was another bug which affects Windows, and that bug which affects Windows is the scrolling issue. So when I record scrolling and then play it back, do recording like that and play this back. Okay, now it works. But it works because we are using this simple scroll, which scrolls by a single kind of mouse wheel click. I think if I use the smooth scrolling, I can do it that. Oops. Actually, no, it's causing issues in Automat in general. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so I can just see what's happening with the input events when I... What is happening? Yeah. When I use the track point. So track point is causing issues. So this is one place where we get mouse wheel. Maybe log this. There is also this. This is raw input event with mouse wheel. But this is used for logging, so this is probably fine. Why do I have two mouse wheel event handlers? So this is window procedure. And this is window procedure. And this is low-level mouse proc. So when I do simple mouse zooming, I'm getting this window procedure called. If I record a macro and then play it back, and then the same window proc is being called. Okay, strange. We'll have to take a look at this. Another random bug. This time in scheduler. It doesn't seem like it's crashing anymore. Okay, events seem to be delivered nicely. I mean, Automat delivers those events to itself. Let's do another, maybe this time not recording. Maybe this time I will activate the track point. Okay, so something like this caused it to glitch out completely. So we are calling this. Finding the zoom factor. Taking the delta. And the math here is probably wrong. So we are taking this -4, dividing it by 120, dividing it by or more, and then we are taking e to the power of this very small number. It should be close to 1. Yeah, it's a good completion. Yeah. This factor is a number very close to 1. For small changes, we skip the animation to increase responsiveness. This is suspicious. Oh, so we instantly warp to the new zoom level. I see, I see. So this is for manually dragged mouse. It actually makes sense. This position metric is not used anywhere. It's fine, can be removed. It should work nice. Has to be caused by this line, I think. Yeah. I can zoom in and out using my track point now, and it's working super smooth. And record this. There's even a horizontal scroll there. I can play this back. Yeah, and it's played back smoothly as well. It's camera pose, camera target. To make this more similar to this line. I need to log this information somewhere. Yeah, it's massive. It's very large value. This is absolutely wrong. Sorry. Be right back. The dog was making some weird noises. She was just asleep. Okay, this window to canvas matrix. Something's weird about this. I think this pointer position is in pixels, right? It looks like this. It's window to canvas matrix. It's like identity. No. Just need these logs here. Missing const. C++ needs to be fixed eventually, so that those stupid errors can go away. This doesn't make any sense. This seems totally wrong. Sorry, what? So this is pixels. Maybe this is what I need. Pointer to canvas. Yes, yes, this is what I need. Because window... Yeah, window is something completely different. Trackpoint is a funny device. I have a friend who says he's been using Trackpoint for a long time, and it's his favorite mouse input method. I find this hard to believe. Very hard to... I mean, I cannot imagine getting used to this. So, I mean, it's smooth. It's so slow at targeting. Let's try zooming in and out. Yeah, now it works. I can try recording something here. Let's try playing this back. Yep. Smooth scrolling seems to work. And I should be able to cut, for example, from this valley here. Or this last valley. Time to remove the logging. Here, here. This is okay, this is okay. I can remove this. So this is a fix for smooth wheel zoom. And I think we had one more thing left near the Windows build. It was apparently something with the assembler wrong. I need to see if assembler is working. What was that? This. Let's randomize some registers. This is wrong register. It's definitely wrong register. The AX can be randomized. This works. When I randomize RSI, it actually randomizes RDI. Let's try other registers. This one works. This one works. BX. BX works. Yeah, it's funny. RD rand has some issue. So the assembler seems to work. I can even chain them like that. Then CX, DX. I think assembler works. I'm not sure what this note was about. Kind of this may even work fast. So I don't know why this is okay. I run it like that. And even have a continuous randomization. FPS is very low. Yeah, unfortunately FPS is just going to be low. Assembler seems to work. That was fun. I had no idea this would work. When I have a stack of registers, I can insert them back and they will just fly. Correct positions. Nice. Let me check the docs for the rand instruction. Maybe I will switch to Linux first. So I will reconnect some cables again. I want to recreate this registry. This assembly issue. It was interesting. So I cannot encode all registers currently. This and this. This. Now the fun ones. And this one. So when I run this, it creates an assembler, but it doesn't actually produce any random value. And this one writes to a different register. Okay. Those others seem to work fine. Now this is how it should work. We're just randomizing all registers. Let's try 32-bit randomization. Not secure, standard. This says we'll also clean the registers. So see. If I randomize this, I get nothing. If I run this, I get the lower half of the DI register. Dolphin works, CX works, DX, AX work. So this behaves in the same way as 32-bit version. Okay, I think maybe the icon is wrong here. Or I'm probably not checking the right register. The source index should be visualized as an egg shell. Let me save this. Try to open the state file. It says RDI. RDI clearly has some value here. Maybe make a better state. Yeah, this already shows the problem. I will save this state. Much simpler. So I have an instruction that should affect ESI, but it affects RDI. Try to decompile this machine code.
I am eating breakfast.
Nice. This looks like a correct instruction. It's not ESI. Maybe what's wrong is the reading of register state from memory.
Why do you need to look up x86 instructions when you're writing high-level C code?
This code is manipulating machine code, so yeah. Machine code is used for scripting within Automat. So if you want to create a macro that has some logic in it, you can use machine code instructions for that. So this is some decoration that we are adding to the assembly code so that it can be executed by jumping from C. Let's move MR. Let's offset. This x86 is a namespace within LLVM.
Modern C seems cool.
But it's still full of traps from older versions. It's nice because it gives you access to things that other programming languages often don't want to give you access to. Like, there are very few things that you cannot do in C. You just disable all security and it just does what you tell it to do. This is nice. But the syntax is, in many places, clunky. It is dated.
Macros seems to be a whole different language in and of themselves.
Yeah. I expected something like this to be wrong, maybe. Seems fine. an issue with assets, maybe. No, they are fine. Okay, this is fixable, but the fix is going to be tricky. Do we already quite a bit for today?
What would you say your profession is?
I'm not working professionally anywhere at the moment. I guess I have most experience in cybersecurity, but I'm not a big fan of this field anymore. I think yeah. Cybersecurity, I would say. One thing I don't like about this area, it's very challenging because you have adversaries, you have people at the other side of this problem that are very smart and creative. So it's on one hand very interesting, but on the other hand, it's like when you actually meet those people, it turns out that there are lots of people in like poor countries who are doing, spam and abuse because that's the easiest way for them to make money, to get by. And it just feels like a terrible waste of time on both ends. Like the people who, like the poor people in Russia or Africa who are just hacking Western countries. And yeah. It's sad because quite often those people are kind of smart and they are wasting their time, just making the world a worse place for everybody. And dealing with this stuff is exhausting a little bit.
I've studied C's, but I'm afraid to commit myself to any one particular field. I'm just a programmer at this point, but I'm also interested in theoretical CS, and it's so hard to decide.
Theoretical CS is kind of programming pretty much. It's not like you will be doing different stuff. It's maybe you will have better references. I mean, if you're going to work as a programmer, if you would like to work as a programmer in the future, then you have to go to university. Many companies will just ignore your CV if you don't have any degree in maybe not even computer science, but computer science or related, any sort of degree. They basically require this. And it depends on the company how they hire. The place I worked with, it was just a requirement. Even if there were people who were very smart, who didn't have a degree from a university, they would not even consider them. Even though they could even be famous, but they didn't have a university degree. Okay, so we did fix this error animation windows. We fixed the smooth scrolling. There are two small issues for splicing tracks. There is an issue in the assembler. Sorry, I'm changing topics. If you're a programmer, then, there are many things that are open to you. There are definitely a lot of non-programming specific areas which could benefit from good programmers being there. Even medicine, you could go for medical studies, because if you are good with programming, you could probably find places in your medical practice where programming could be applied and where it could help you. Or you could become support staff at a medical facility, and there is a lot of potential for applying programming to other fields. So specializing in programming is fun, but it becomes very valuable when this is applied to accelerate some bureaucratic processes, for instance.
Right now, my best skill is converting business logic into back-end code. But I do not know if I want to commit myself to this, because there's a lot of other interesting stuff like graphics, kernel programming, etc. Everything seems so siloed.
True. I mean, it's not so much siloed, but there are areas of specialization, and there are so many of them, and they are getting deeper and deeper. I know what you mean.
Deeper and deeper. Exactly.
I think this is okay. Nobody's Renaissance man nowadays. It's hard to pick one. I can tell you about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is extremely well paid. It is fun. It is, yeah. It is also a Sisyphean task. It's not going to be solved anytime soon. Cybersecurity is going to be an issue as long as people are motivated to be nasty to each other. A little bit of this helps, definitely. When you will go to university, it's not like you will only learn a single specialization. You will be able to touch a lot of them actually during your studies. It really depends on those early years before you pick specialization are the time where you will deal with a little bit of everything. A little bit of CAD design, like 3D graphics. Earlier on the stream I was working in Blender. That was partially because during my university I was working with programs for design, for industrial, or for engineering, like engineering software. And Blender is very similar to that. So I know how to work with this. And I also went to classes where people explained how 3D graphics work.
Nice.
So university is definitely nice for this aspect. But non-computer science studies are also interesting when you connect them with programming. You can pick really pretty much anything. You can go to like chemical engineering, become some kind of petrochemical engineer, and you will find use cases for programming there. You can go for like
Being
engine
a
design.
competent web developer today is so qualitatively different from being an OS developer. Web app system design is so different than OS's. Oh.
Yeah, that is also true. The stuff that's happening in web design is web development is it's changing very fast. So the stuff that you will learn at university, even if you learn anything, is going to become obsolete in 5 to 10 years. Especially now that language models, they are excellent at generating websites. So I think web design could be the first place where AI kind of makes programmers will be able to do other stuff except writing React components in the future. Even theoretical physics has uses for programming, actually a lot uses for programming. I'm trying to think what we can do on the next stream. Maybe this.
So I think in today's competitive world, what's most important is knowing how to think and learn, and being hard and smart working. Whoa.
Yeah. There are some things which I haven't really seen being taught at university. I think when university tries to teach you those things, they try to do it by doing, not by telling you. But there are kind of communication and diplomacy is very important at a workplace. Being able to clearly explain what is your motivation, what you intend to do, and making sure that other people who are relevant know about this, like teamwork, being professional at work. This is something that's absolutely universal. And it's totally unrelated to programming, but I think it's like one of the most important skills in programming. Okay, so next stream is going to be on Friday. And I don't want to start a big thing like minimizing to tray on Friday. This is more like a Monday thing to do. So on Friday, I think we can take a look at those two things. So I would like to first investigate what is making Automat so slow. So we'll maybe profile the build process. By profile, I mean attribute the slowness. And then fix it. I have a guess that the slowness actually comes from linking. And then we will see what we can do to accelerate the linking stage. And I'm not sure, honestly, how long it's going to take. If it takes the whole day, then that's fine. But there is this other thing. It's a bug in Automat, and I don't know how deep it goes. Maybe there is some fundamental thing which is missing from the Automat's execution model that will prevent us from fixing this. Maybe not. Maybe it's going to be a simple if check that's going to get rid of this issue. You can actually start with this one. Anyway, that's the plan for Friday. And for today, that's it. Yeah. I will see you in 2 days.
Can you show the active window capture bug?
It's about this. So I can make Automat capture a window in a loop. And this starts a process which I think, yeah, makes it crash when I delete this object. It's probably about checking if the deleted object is active or it's scheduled and making sure it's safely cleaned up. If the design of Automat is correct, then it should be very simple to fix. If it's not simple to fix, then yeah, it's going to shift the foundations of Automat.
Cool.
Yeah, tiny thing, but I think if somebody's actually using Automat, they are almost guaranteed to hit this bug eventually. And I think something similar affects assembler. I think if I delete... Okay, I just deleted an instruction which was running. Yeah, something similar happened. Yeah. Well, there are tons of places where this happens. And we'll look at this in 2 days. So, see you then. Bye-bye.